You're getting ready to file your marriage adjustment of status case, but you are lacking a lot of evidence because your spouse doesn't have a social security number. In today's video, we're talking about bona fide marital evidence that you can obtain without a social security number. Hi guys, my name is Ksenia. I make videos for people who are going through the family green card process. I'm not an attorney. My videos are based on public information, my own experience, and the experience of my subscribers. And the purpose of my channel is to give you guys the confidence to go through this process completely on your own. A social security number is easy to obtain for applicants who are authorized to work in the United States, but for some other applicants who are in a period of overstay, applicants who came here originally on a non-immigrant visa, such as a tourist visa, for example, a lot of the times it's hard to obtain financial evidence, some of the strongest pieces of evidence for your bona fide marital case. But that is not impossible. First of all, one of the biggest pieces of evidence that USCIS looks for is proof of cohabitation. So proof of both spouses residing together. Sometimes this can be in a form of a lease or mortgage or utility bills. In a lot of circumstances, a spouse beneficiary cannot be added to a lease without a social security number because your landlord will need to conduct a background check. And without a social security number, this could be impossible. One of the things you could do is you could simply ask your landlord to provide you with a signed affidavit or letter from them stating that you do indeed reside together. But another way you can go about this is creating an addendum to the lease for an authorized resident. An authorized occupant or an authorized resident addendum allows the landlord to add the beneficiary to the lease without needing a social security number and without needing a background check. If you, the petitioner, already own your property, you can equally add your non-resident spouse to the deed of the house or the property without needing a social security number. Do keep in mind though that in some cases this could also mean additional costs of working with your real estate agent to amend the documents, so there could be costs associated with that. Another way to prove cohabitation is showing a payment of mutual utility bills. You may not necessarily be able to add your non-resident spouse to your utility bill because a lot of the electric and gas companies do require that you provide a social security number. However, you can show that each of you make payments towards these utility bills, even if they're made from different bank accounts, as long as you can say that each of you is paying for utilities, even if they're different utilities, that are located at the same address. Next, there are some banks that will allow you to open a joint bank account without beneficiary's social security number. Some banks will allow you to use a placeholder social security number. Others may simply use your beneficiary's passport number instead. If you're still not able to do that, there is also another workaround, and that is adding your beneficiary to your credit card as an authorized user. Your beneficiary will receive their own card, which they can use, but that way you can use the same account. Next, you can indeed add your spouse without social security number to your tax returns. It is possible to file your tax returns as married jointly or married separately, even if your beneficiary doesn't have an SSN or an ITIN. Of course, this will only apply if you actually got married in the year for which you are submitting the tax returns. So if you are submitting your 2024 tax returns, but you got married only in 2025, then of course you're not yet able to add your spouse, and You will only be able to do so later on in 2026 when you file your 2025 returns. Next, insurance. It is possible to add your spouse to certain types of insurance without needing a social security number. Some insurance companies will use a placeholder social security number, such as using all zeros, in order to add your spouse. Of course, as soon as your spouse obtains a social security number with their employment authorization or green card, you should go back to this company and provide them with this updated information. It may, of course, require you to speak to quite a few people in HR or even calling the insurance company directly to inquire about this. You may have to call quite a few times until you reach a person who actually is familiar with this type of circumstance. You can also add your spouse beneficiary to your life insurance without needing a social security number. You can add your spouse as an emergency contact in different places, in your insurance, at your job, and other places. And then you can use that information printout for the purposes of your green card. Also, one of the things you can do is updating your marital status with your employer and using the status update confirmation as additional proof. In today's video, I only wanted to cover the misconceptions that some financial pieces of evidence cannot be obtained without a social security number. And of course, if you need even more ideas for bona fide marital evidence, you can check out this video that I will link in the description box below. If you found this video useful, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye!